Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Fran, and today I would like to talk about the relationship between quantum physics and everyone is you pushed out, or the law of assumption. Now, in quantum physics, when you measure two complementary properties of a subatomic particle, such as an electron or a photon, you cannot measure both of these complementary features of the particle independently without affecting the other. For instance, if you measure the position of a subatomic particle, then the momentum will become fuzzier or more vague or less real, if you will, and vice versa. So you measure the momentum, the position becomes fuzzier or blurry. Yet they are both part of the same whole or the same particle. Now, in classical physics, in principle at least, you're always able to measure all variables of a system. Each variable is independent of whether you measure the other or not. In other words, measuring one does not affect your ability to measure or observe the other. Yet in a quantum state, at the subatomic level, measuring the momentum of a particle renders the position vague, as we've seen. Measuring its position makes it impossible for you to know its momentum with any precision. So we draw two conclusions from this. One, observation changes the actual state of subatomic particle at the quantum level. And two, there are values of subatomic particles which cannot be described by the same wave function, although they are part of the same quantum state. And these are the complementary features that we were talking about. This suggests that these complementary pairs of values can only be described by separate wave functions. But what does this mean in practical terms? How does this relate to the law of assumption? This is what it means. Our observation collapses a wave function into a real particle. The particle is real to us, the observer, but its complementary value becomes inaccessible to the observer. It cannot be described by the same wave function. In other words, it is no longer part of the reality of this one observer in this wave function, which describes a whole universe. So each wave function describes a whole universe, a new, different reality, a separate reality. As the observer becomes aware of this wave function, he or she can no longer be aware of its complementary one. There are, in this sense, infinite possible realities, and the observer decides which one to observe, which one to become aware of, while at the same time, this precludes him or herself the possibility to observe the opposite. In this sense, reality is an illusion, in that it does not exist before observation. It is real to the observer because observation makes it real. So to rephrase this, reality is an illusion until observed. So you cannot ask the question, what would reality look like in absence of an observer? As that wouldn't make any sense at all. Observation is reality. Yet the observer doesn't create anything that doesn't already exist. He or she simply becomes aware of one version of events that already exists somewhere. So we've come on this plane of existence to experience our ability to become aware of the most disparate scenarios, adventures, feelings, and emotions. In order to experience reality in this way, however, we had to fall asleep and forget our manifesting power. Yet, this might have led us to experience the unwanted or contrast, but this is the only way to find out what it is that we do want to experience. The problem is that sometimes we get so entrenched in the illusion that we forget that we are the observers. That is when it's important to become lucid dreamers and remind ourselves that we can shift our reality simply by shifting our focus of attention. We simply start observing a different wave function. And as that comes into focus, then the other wave function becomes gradually more fuzzy, more unreal or blurry. There is only one limit to our ability to experience a different reality, our subconscious mind, which was pre-programmed for us in childhood and is now running the show and deciding for us what we can and cannot observe, what is possible for us to experience and what isn't. Our unconscious mind, in other words, is a secret observer. It observes on our behalf by default. It observes both wanted and unwanted stuff. So the trick here is to reprogram our secret observer to observe only that which is desired. At first, we do that by becoming aware of our automatic observations. Then we start replacing, through conscious effort, the unwanted with the desired, time after time, until the new observation becomes automatic. So look at what shows up in your life. Explore the assumptions behind unwanted observations. Does that thing that you observed in your reality reflect in any way your expectations about it? Did you have a feeling that that might happen? Were you afraid that that might happen? Did you consider the opportunity of it happening? Did you feel that you didn't deserve the opposite? Do you generally feel that you are not worthy of your dreams, wishes, and desires? So assume the opposite for no other reason than you wanting to experience the opposite. Observe the alternative wave function into existence. Shift your awareness to the wanted and the desired. Many people who come back from a near-death experience describe exactly this feeling of timelessness and this immediate shifting from one reality to another simply by shifting attention or awareness. On this plane, however, we are bound by our physical bodies, which make the illusion of linear time and absolute space more entrenched. Yet, we still retain our ability to experience that which we decide to observe at will. We just need to awaken enough to remember that we are asleep. In other words, we need to become lucid dreamers, as we've said. We can decide the content of our dreams, but we first need to become aware of the fact that we are dreaming. Now, do you remember that cult movie Sliding Doors? In the movie, the main character, portrayed by Gwyneth Paltrow, I think her name was Helen, was experiencing two parallel realities, but in actual fact, she would have experienced infinite ones. Of course, our logical mind can't even conceive of infinite reality, so we just, whoever wrote the script for the movie, just imagine two realities. But in actual fact, in the quantum field, we would be experiencing infinite number of realities. But only deciding to observe one of them into actual reality in what we call the 3D dimension, the three-dimensional space-time experience. In actual fact, each of us will experience as real the one reality that we choose or which we are programmed to observe. But there is no limit to what we could in principle observe, if free from some subconscious programming and limiting beliefs. So every time we decide to observe a reality consciously or subconsciously, we slide in and out of a set of invisible doors, which, like metaphorical invisible doors, which give us access to an alternate reality or quantum wave function. So this is what Neville Goddard meant by everyone is you pushed out. Different versions of people exist along different wave functions, and you can bring forward a different version of them through observation, imagination, or assumption. People and events are real only relative to the observer in this particular wave function, and that is you. So this video, and I am real to you in this particular wave function because you brought me forward and observed me, and thus this content into reality. By the same token, I am not real to another version of you along a different wave function or alternate reality who did not choose to observe me. And by the same token, I've manifested you, the listener, in my version of reality, the one I chose to observe. So the question, who is more real, you or me, doesn't really make sense in any absolute term. All you need to know, for all intents and practical purposes, is this. You are the only observer in your own wave function. So you decide how events and people show up in your version of reality. Simple as that. So this is it for today. I intend that this video helps you remember who you really are so that you can observe anything you desired into reality. Have a wonderful awakened day.